Okay, perfect.
Okay, Dylan.
Awesome. So we all read the talks and the values of valuing values as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I think we could just do the same thing that we did last time, and basically I'll just kind of go around in a circle. We could all talk about one question that we feel was really important, or a couple if you feel so inclined. But I guess I'll just start off, and I kind of really like, I don't have my computer in front of me right now, but I really liked the bottom half of the questions about values. And one of my favorite was the one that was like, how can we, what did it say? It was like something about like, can we live God's teachings, Heavenly Father's teachings, while also loving someone unconditionally? Super favorite of mine, because I think we kind of talked about this, I think last week too, is when we kind of got off on that tangent, is that there's a big difference between advocating for what we believe, but also still loving someone, but also like following our beliefs. And I think it's kind of a gray line, but I think like we obviously just like stick to our values, and it's not our job to judge someone. It's not our job to teach that person, or like not, well, obviously to teach them, but it's not our job to like make that person conform. And I think Jesus does that to us, right? Heavenly Father does that to us. They ask us to live those teachings, but love us unconditionally either way. And I think it's silly for us to act contrary. If we want to be just like them, then we have to do the same thing, right? So we have to be able to love Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ, but also love our brother in the same manner, regardless of their values, beliefs, or morals. I think that's very important.
So can you guys think of any like really specific things? Well, maybe not specific because each situation is going to be unique, but ways that we can make sure that we're standing up for our laws and our beliefs, and for God, and yet still loving and letting people know that even though we disagree, we still love them.
So one way I think that you could do that is by just like, I don't know, with your beliefs, you act on your beliefs and you live by your beliefs. So if other people aren't living by those same beliefs, it's just that respect, or just showing them and being like that Christ-like figure and uplifting them from their standpoint of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
by example.
Be an example for people who may not know the same attributes as we do. Yes.
Well, and I think it's important to know that I think a lot of people are Christian, right? And so they have very similar values and beliefs. And I think we wouldn't want someone to kind of like force on us or judge us or act differently. And so like, why should we? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I know in high school, like I was the only LDS kid. And I got told a lot that I was going to hell. Because I wore fancy underwear. And I know that it's like, I know how that felt. And so I think that was kind of why it stuck out to me, that question did, is because I don't want others to feel that same way. I can obviously, a friend of mine's going through a breakup right now, and I can kind of tell him that, moving towards the Heavenly Father kind of helps, you find someone else that's moving towards Heavenly Father. And that's just kind of like what I taught, but obviously he can do whatever he wants, and that's, his thing. And I'm not going to diss on his thing because it's his thing, but I'm going to love him unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really important, that we treat others the way we want to be treated, but still grow as much as we can towards God. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it does become hard because we do need to make sure that we're speaking up for our beliefs. Sometimes it is so easy. When I have a lot of friends who aren't LDS. Sometimes it's really easy to just remain quiet to not say anything. I mean, like, I don't agree with what's going on, or I do have a standing on this, but I know if I do say it, it's going to start this whole debate and argument thing, and sometimes it's just easier to stay quiet. But that often comes across as, if you don't disagree, then you are agreeing with me. And that's not something we can afford to do. We need to be able to stand up and say what we believe in, and yet, as Dylan said, not do it in such a way that makes them feel like you have to believe the way I do, or you're stupid, or whatever.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, we just have to like stray away from the spirit of contention. I think that's when it's like not okay, right? Is when there's contention, or it's like a fight, or you feel like you're being attacked. Like whenever the spirit of contention's there, it's not great. But if it's a teaching moment, or if it's a loving moment, it's a lot different. But anyway, 5 more people. Who else wants to go next?
I can go. Kind of like to tie in also with this, with question number 7, which says, how can we forgive others when we don't understand their trials? It's kind of like what we were talking about, like treat others with respect, and just like what they believe in or what they're doing is their decision, and we can't force them to make decisions that we would want them to make, and they have to live that for themselves so that they can learn that trial. And it's like we can help them only so much, but we can't hold their hand all the way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I was going to say, I think it definitely is important to know the facts. Like I don't know if you guys watched that long video where she talked about how if you know the stats and you know the studies, it's a lot easier to talk about it, because you're like, well, this person did a study that showed a correlation between this behavior and this outcome. And then it's a lot easier to talk about it when you're just kind of scapegoating some other study, you know what I mean? Like, and you know that they're not exactly wrong. And so it's like a softer way of saying, hey, this is what I believe and this is why I believe this way. And you're not like attacking them or their character, but you're just saying, hey, these are the facts that I've been taught.
Yeah, if you come at it from not just a gospel perspective, but also showing the studies, like you said, the facts and the statistics and stuff, then you can show them I'm not just hunkering down in my religious beliefs and keep saying I've actually studied this. It's actually shown this works. Right. So that way you can a little bit more logical perspective, a little bit, but science and religion go hand in hand. I mean, the world will tell us otherwise, but they do go hand in hand. And the only time that there is controversy between the two is because we don't have enough understanding of either. So
absolutely. Amen. All right. I like that a lot. I like where that went. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Cool beans.
So I'll just answer number 12. It says, does the video use word judo? Does the video present a persuasive argument for a conservative viewpoint? Do you find holes in the argument? And this was talking about the video, the second video in the valuing others or something like that. And I don't know, maybe you guys have different thoughts and opinions on it, but for me, I don't think he used the word judo very well, in that he didn't try to see where the left side was coming from as much. He just basically was hammering on them that they make no sense. Why would they think this? Because obviously that makes no sense and it doesn't work. You just want to feel good. I felt like he's kind of attacking them a little bit instead of trying to understand their viewpoints and then show how we have similar viewpoints in trying to do what's best. So I don't know. That was the holes that I found in the argument. I mean, he had good points, but I felt like he could have done it in a better way.
I totally agree. I think and I could be wrong, but I think the whole point of this is like perspective, right? And a matter of perception and being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, and whether we're right or we're wrong. And God bless, because we're LDS, so we're right. But I mean, I think we have to be able to see someone else's shoes. You know what I'm saying? So like, we can't just like have the facts and just give it to somebody, but we have to be able to like, was it this class? We were trying to like
Say it in
put
a
it
way
in
that
metaphors for them to
understand.
understand. And
Yeah.
this guy couldn't put himself in that shoes, and I understand that was the problem. I really like that.
Right. Focusing on what they value the most is what she said. And he wasn't really focusing on their values. I mean, he was, but he was saying it, the
In a
motive
negative.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. Después, who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Cool.
I really love listening to Elder Holland. I mean, even though sometimes it feels like a little bit of a slap in the face sometimes. But there's 2 questions, 3 and 4, that had to do with his talk. One was, how does Elder Holland's description of Babylon and Israel coincide with defending the doctrine of the family in these latter days? And what characteristics and attributes did Elder Holland expound on that will make us more effective family advocates? And for the first one, it struck me that what he was saying about how Israel used to always be told to leave. Whenever situations were really bad and the environment simply did not fit with their beliefs, he told them it's time to go. You need to set up elsewhere so that you guys can band together, you guys can grow strong together and in your beliefs. And it would happen over and over again. And that's not happening anymore. For the very first time, it's not happening anymore, and yet we're still told to do it just differently. We're not told to physically move away and physically band together, but we need to do that spiritually and mentally. We need to be, as it's said a couple times in our readings, to be in the world but not of the world. To be able to hold true to our standards, and yet we still need to be reaching out to the rest of the world as well at the same time. We can't just close ourselves off. So that was one thing that really struck me. And the characteristics, we need courage, because it takes a lot sometimes to stand up for your beliefs. I'm a very passive person, so I don't like contention whatsoever, or even when things get too competitive, I don't even like that. So courage is definitely one I need to work on myself. And righteous judgment is another attribute we need, because it's sometimes hard to find the balance between judging others and righteous judgment that we need to do in order to make wise decisions. And loving and serving our fellow men, and knowledge about both the doctrine and secular knowledge, so that we can see things from both sides and make informed decisions.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think you put into words what I wish I could have put into words with my question, because you said in the world and not of it, but still, what was it, like band together but still reach out? I think that's what I love the most that you said. Band together but still be able to reach out. And I think that's the hardest thing we do. But also love what you said about Jeffrey R. Holland, because I feel like there were multiple people in this discussion board. I have so many online classes, I get them all jumbled up. But this is the one where he's the Israel one, where I think multiple people on their discussion boards were like, Jeffrey R. Holland always like, kind of like hits us hard. But I think that's his value. And I think he kind of talked about that at the beginning, right? It's kind of like hits us with like encouraging words, but also almost as like a stern dad kind of feel. But it's really cool because I think all of the apostles, like Henry B. Eyring is my favorite, because I think he's the only man I feel love when he talks. Like, it's so weird. Like when Henry B. Eyring talks, I feel love. And I think all of them have these different kinds of ways to speak to people. And I think that was a big proponent of this whole lesson, is being able to find what we're good at and master that so that we can advocate. So thank you.
And not check our religion at the door.
Heck yeah. All right, who wants to go next?
I think I'm last, and we've covered a lot of the questions. So I think I'll just talk about.
You can hit one of the questions you want too, if you like. That's already been covered. That's not a big deal.
It's okay.
Yeah, we are supposed to meet for about an hour, and it's only 3:18, guys.
Okay. Well, we can talk about 13 because it's kind of long anyway. a threat to children and families and our society, what am I focusing on? And I thought about cohabitation, but I think it really boils down to what she was talking about, the sexual freedom. And I thought it was really interesting when she brought up the bar graph. I've never seen it before, about how many partners you have and how it affects the percentage of whether you'll be divorced or not. And it was just stunning to me to see how quickly it dropped, you know, from 89% likely to stay married to 50 or something. It just like significantly went down. And I bring it up because my sister, she just recently left the church, and we were talking, and I had learned some things, and we were talking about in San Francisco, they have a term called life partner. They don't even talk about marriage. And a lot of the movement was saying, like, if gay marriage can't be legal, then they won't get married. They'll just be life partners. Anyway, and she was like just casually talking about it. And I knew from a study from one of my classes that it actually affects children and how they perceive the relationship, and affects their security levels. And I just kind of lightly said, well, kids need their parents to be married to have more, you know, emotional security. And she's like, well, I probably won't have kids, you know. And I never heard her say that before, but it completely went along with the sexual freedom, because children, they just limit that, and they completely. So when I hear war on family for the first time, I'm like, whoa, that's totally true, because in her desire for sexual freedom, she doesn't even want to have children anymore, you know, when I never thought she would ever say that. And so I feel like for me, that is something I could write about, and why it's a problem with society today. And I think it is becoming even more, like, I think it's becoming more normal to say life partner and to not get married and to not want to have children. And I recently heard something like, this generation is afraid to have children. And I'm not exempt from that. Like, I'm terrified of having more than just one kid. I have a daughter, and, you know, I'm like, do I really want another one? Like, I don't know. So anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Kind of a tangent there.
Yeah, I've always been interesting in the fact that I'm really eager for, like, my kids and the whole having children process, and it's the whole marriage part that scares me to death. But yeah, it is scary, because we've been told these are the last days, and it's only supposed to get worse. But at the same time, this is the time period, even though things are getting worse, things have gotten so much better as well. We have the gospel on the earth, fully restored for the first time since Christ was on the earth, and we have all the keys to the kingdom. We have hundreds of temples, and yeah, things are getting harder. But that also means that we can raise our children to be stronger than anybody before us. So.
I really liked what you said. I think that was. I love numbers. I love statistics. They're obviously, we're not statistics. We're just people. But it's crazy how much we fall into those statistics, right? I remember taking the first intro to marriage and family class, and what was the stat about, like 50% of marriages all fail, right? And it was really like foreboding and like scary. And then I have two sisters, both are married, and I was like, listen, not to like freak you guys out, but one of you guys is getting a divorce. And it actually happened. One of them did. I was like just joking, but it's really sad. And I don't know, it really scares me, because, you know, I think that freedom is what does it. I think, was it World War II, right after World War II, when all of the divorces happened? Is that right? Does anybody know that? I know there was like a huge increase in divorce, and it was because the freedom to have divorce was so much higher. People could do it more, and it was almost like, I don't want to say advertised.
60s. Yeah.
Yeah, 60s. Yep.
No-fault
So
divorce was legalized in the 60s, I think it was, maybe 50s.
yeah. So it made it was like freedom to or freedom from, right? And I think that freedom kind of almost invites bad things like that. And
The lack of guilt.
I think we say scared to have children, but I almost think it's because we're scared to lose freedom. I could be totally wrong in saying that, but I think we have this freedom, this sexual freedom that you said, and we're afraid to lose that. You know, with kids, it kind of locks you down. You can't really feel like you can have fun, and we're more free than we've ever been in history, I feel like.
And it's the individualism of the states as well.
Do what?
It's the individualism as well. Like,
no, I agree.
Are taught that we're supposed to be happy, and we're supposed to, you know, we have the right to happiness, and so children kind of cut that in half. I mean, there's even a study where as you get children, your marriage happiness drops and then levels off and then drops, and then with each child it drops again. So, and I mean, even just that is terrifying. But
I literally words that I wish I could put in my mouth. Thank you. Because I think we focus too much on trying to be the best that we can be as a person instead of growing the basic units of civilization, right? Like a family. We don't think about that because too many people are like, well, I need to have a well-established job. I need to make 6 figures before I can get married, or, you know, I need to be the best me I can be. I need to travel the world first. And then, you know, at a certain point, you're 55 and then you're like, I think I'm ready now.
And the sad thing is that you can see over and over again that doesn't work. I mean, people who are immensely successful in the world, like the greatest businessmen, the celebrities, and so on and so forth, there's so many examples. They are not happy. They have pursued their careers, they pursued their job, and at the end of the day, what is there except money? And that's like all there is. And that can be taken away at an instant, basically. And also, like, the whole marriage decline, that is a very much a thing, but it can also be avoided with proper communication and working with your partner and being involved with each other. And
in one of my classes, we had I don't know how to explain it, but a list of attributes, and if you can check them off, then your percentage drops. So it's like if you're the same religion, if you're above 25, if you're, you know, so there are ways to like cut your statistic in half, you know, to be more careful with finding the right person type of thing. So it's not totally 50-50. Anyway, I learned that in the marriage class. I'm a senior, so
if you can send me that would be awesome.
I will find it.
I think there are a lot of ways. Obviously, I don't know. I can't see your names. I'm sorry about that. But I don't know how this thing works on my phone. But the person right for you was saying that it's obvious that it doesn't work. But I don't know if it is. Because I think when we look over time, it's obvious, right? But when we're living our individual lives, they're so quick. And I think we're so worried. I know I'm worried, right, about being a dad. And I think it's a very rational fear because I want to provide for my kid. I want to provide for my family. I want to preside and protect, right? And I want to be sure that I'm ready. But I think we worry too much, I think is what I'm trying to say. I think we get to the point where, you know, I saw some statistic that was like people, their ready age of marriage has gone way, way up, right? And the longer you wait, the chance of divorce goes lower, but like your happiness in your marriage is also lower, right? So if you get married at 20, you have a higher chance of getting divorced, but you also you're going to have a higher success in your marriage, I guess. I don't know. It's all percentages and stuff, but at the end of the day, you know, it's up to us.
I feel like these days, most people just overthink everything and overanalyze it when it's just like, all right, if you feel good about it, just, you know, move on. Move
Dude,
on.
absolutely.
Jump in. So, I don't know. That's a thing that I've noticed, as you were saying, with the percentages of ages going up. In one of my classes, it was something like women are all the way up to like 27 and men are like up to 30. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my parents got married at 20.
Same.
So that's changed quite a bit.
But I don't think that's our fault that it's changed. Well, obviously it's some due to our fault, but I think it's a lot due in part to the pressure we feel from our society to wait, to be individuals, to be happy on our own and not worry about family.
And the media doesn't help either, you know, when you have TV shows that make it seem so terrible to have a kid, you know, almost every show you watch, you know, once they have a baby, life is over, or, you know what I mean? Even just the birthing experience, that's what drives me crazy as a mom. I'm a natural birth advocate, and so it's like every time you see someone having a baby on TV, the woman's screaming her lungs out. You know, it's like, oh, that's not really how it's supposed to be, you know? So it's the same thing with parenting. The media and movies and all that stuff, it makes it seem so terrible when it's really not. And, or it is, but it's like a distorted mirror, you know? It has some truths, but it's still way out of proportion.
I think there are some shows that kind of push for healthy families, though, and I know it's
Yeah.
not necessarily like the ideal Mormon family show, but like Modern Family, I think is really family oriented, right? And it's really, even if there's like a gay family, they're really family oriented,
Right.
and it doesn't ruin your life, and you can still have fun, and it's still like they go through crises, but I think they are good. And someone said that earlier, is that it's only supposed to get worse, right? But there is a lot of good in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to push this as long as we can, right? It's supposed to go an hour, but I don't think we have to.
This actually, there's this psychologist or something, and he has this famous talk on YouTube or something that it describes the difference between men and women's minds. Like men's minds are like little boxes, and that where they have different subjects together, and then women's minds are like balls of wire.
Oh, yeah, and you can't mix the boxes.
Yeah, I just sent this to a good friend of mine, and he just cracked up over it. But he has, a few further along in his talk after that, he talked about how a lot of the times people will say you need to wait to get married, you need to wait to have children, and so on and so forth, because they act like marriage is a vampire. It's going to suck you dry. But he says, no, it doesn't have to be that way. If marriage is done right, it can be the most fulfilling and enriching thing in your entire life. But yes, if it is done wrong, it is going to suck the life and soul out of you. So, I like him. He's great. I'd like to read more of his work.
I think it's important to know, though, too, is like, I think we kind of suck the life out of ourselves if we stay too long as an individual. And I think I almost feel like it's really important to get married young, because I wish I say that, and I'm getting in the late 20s, but because, you know, you want to look back and have memories with someone, right? You want to have the memories of like the hardest times of your life are going to be like, you know, in your 20s, when you're going through school and when you have to go through like really poor times, and you want to have someone that you could share those memories with. And it's important. And I think when you wait too long, you rely on yourself. And then when can you ever be interdependent with someone? You know what I'm saying? When you've only depended ever on yourself.
Yeah. Not to mention you get to grow and mature together.
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
my two best friends married at 18 and 19. And even though on one side I'm going, oh, goodness, on the other side, I've been able to watch them as they learn things together and learn and grow together. And it's just been amazing.
No, definitely. Absolutely.
I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like you, as an individual, you can only grow so much. And then like getting married, then you are thrown into this new situation where you have to learn and adapt and change for the better. If you don't, then obviously it's not going to work out. And then once you have kids, I feel like you can't grow as far individually as you could if you do progress to getting married and to having kids one day.
That's a really good point.
No, it's almost like a video game, right? You have to have a spouse to move on. You know, you can only level up
to
your
the next
stats so
stage.
far.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, I just feel like, does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Any of the other questions that we want to discuss? Questions, jokes, or comments?
All right. Do we have a data person that wants to, not data person, but do we have a data person that wants to wrap this up?
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so the whole time we talked about the importance of not judging people. We love everyone unconditionally, and we treat others how we want to be treated, which is with respect of others' beliefs. And to help other people with the trials that they're going through, we can use facts and statistics rather than just religious beliefs. And we could use religious beliefs also. We need to be in the world, not of the world. Don't close yourself off to new things and different things. Have courage to stick up for our beliefs, and never forget that there is still good in the world, even though it may seem like there's not.
Cool beans. Cool beans.
Okay, roles for next time. Is there anyone who wants to be in charge of organizing and getting us together next time?
I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll
great.
be the host next time.
Okay. All right, and leader. Who wants to be the leader?
I can lead.
Okie doke. All right, and then next time we'll just kind of rotate or do the same thing.
Does 3 o'clock work for you guys again next week?
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I had work today. I just kind of sneak off on accident. I'm sure they don't miss me. Yeah, but I have Thursdays off from now on, so it'll be Gucci.
Okay. All
So-
right. So just plan on 3 next Thursday.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
unless something comes up, we'll
Yeah.
just plan for Thursday at 3 every single time.
And on like Monday, I'll send out like the ID thing that you need to get into the meeting.
Cool beans.
Awesome possum.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good week, guys.
Yep, you too.
Peace and
Bye.
numbers.
See ya.
Adios.